Hi, welcome to SoulBlazing. I'm Lisa Haisha. It's so good to be here and to connect with all of you. I am in a great mood because I had a great 4th of July weekend. It was wonderful. I held a party and a lot of us got together and shared stories and shared and celebrated life. And that's what I wanted to talk about today in this podcast, about the importance of connection, the importance of creating stories and then sharing stories. If you go on with your life without creating new memories and interesting stories, you're going to be living in the past. And in the past is where possibly false stories reside because we don't remember them clearly because so much time has passed. And you create stories from your experiences depending on the lens that you're looking through at that time and space in your life. So I'm excited to share some of this with you today, but I want to first share that stories are similar to this, the butterfly effect. They say when a butterfly flaps its wings in the Amazon, it can cause a tornado in Texas. And that's the same with stories. What happens to you in your life, your hero's journey, if you share that story with someone else, it can cause a ripple effect in their life and the people they share and what they do with their life based on what you shared with them. And it could absolutely change the world. And that's why stories are so important. And for speakers, any speakers out there listening to this, if you don't have great stories, you could never be a phenomenal speaker, because stories are what makes speaking really affect people's lives. So we never know the impact of the stories that we tell, that we hear, that we read, and how it affects us. So I wanted to share a story with you because in order to transform and grow and soul blaze your life, we have to understand who we are on a deep level and what stories and experiences in our lives have shaped us. So I've traveled all over the world, and this is one of my stories from Budapest, when I met a woman on a bus. And I'm writing my book right now about some of my travel experiences. So here's a little excerpt. Before leaving Budapest, I wanted to explore the famous bathhouses. The Budapest baths are famous for pampering and detoxification, and I was ready for both. The largest bathhouse of its kind was located in Chechnya and hosted 2 million visitors each year. Chechnya. I like the sound of that word. Armed with directions, a bathing suit, bath towel, and toiletries, I was off to the metro. I bought a ticket and boarded the subway. Like many commuter trains across the world, this one was filled with blank faces and tired souls. I was a stranger in a strange land, but I felt awake and living color. Everyone else seemed asleep, like shadows in a film noir. I saw an empty seat and I was about to sit in it. Then the train jolted. I stumbled and fell into a cushiony lap of an old woman. Embarrassed, I gave her a spontaneous hug and joked, "Hi, Grandma, I've missed you." She glared at me as if I were nuts. Other passengers glanced at us curiously. I pulled away and sat across from her. Still embarrassed, I started to laugh. Then Grandma joined me in the hilarity. Her laugh brightened her face and transformed her. She was probably thinking, "Crazy American girl." She took a moment to check me out. I did the same with her. When she reached out across the aisle with a freckled, wrinkled hand, I offered mine in return. She looked at me lovingly, her turquoise eyes still filled with her youth. Her broad face and yellow-toothed smile lit up the subway. The other passengers were smiling, a few anyway, who appeared to be waking up. A few stops later, we came to Grandma's destination. She squeezed my hand, and without words, she reached behind her neck, unclasped a chain with a cross. She gently handed me the necklace, folded my fingers around it tightly, tilted her head down, and kissed my hand. I don't know what to do or say. Nothing like this has ever happened to me before, or perhaps to her. Grandma's eyes welled up with tears. I couldn't help my own. She struggled to rise, and I helped her step off the train. She treated me like a long lost granddaughter, the way my grandmother would if she were still alive. I helped Grandma off the train and took my seat. I closed my eyes and drifted into a slumber while sleeping to the rhythm of the rolling steel. The scent of Grandma's perfume still lingered in the air. I closed my eyes and allowed the moment to pass through me. Life is full of wonderful surprises if you put yourself out there and allow yourself to be open to them. I wondered the last time that sweet woman enjoyed a warm embrace. Falling into her lap was more of a miracle than an accident. I'd been melancholy and homesick, maybe more so. Maybe she was more so. If we could just realize how connected we all are spiritually, how differently we might treat each other. I put the necklace around my neck as a reminder of Grandma's loving energy. With my fast approaching, I slowly opened my eyes, wanting to connect with the other passengers, but the spell was broken. All I saw was slouched, lethargic, middle-aged Hungarians wearing drab clothing and sad demeanors. And that's a taste of a story that I experienced that I've shared with some people. And many people, it taught them how to travel and how to connect with others, because stories have the power to change lives. And what I'm doing on my Zoom classes is breaking it down of how to tell a story, how to find your 3 juiciest stories in your life that transformed you. Think about something that happened to you in childhood. What was an aha moment, or what was that moment that you decided you're never going to be the same? I remember in first grade, I changed my name from Sharon to Lisa, which was my middle name, because of another student in class who was doing embarrassing things. And I didn't want, and she had my same name, and I did not want to be associated with her or attached to her. So I changed my name. So that was a strong defining moment when you do something like that. And in middle school, high school, college, each of those stories in that little period of your life, I call them seasons, because you change and grow so much. Who I am today is nothing who I was when I was a teen or in my 20s or in my 30s. So go out there and start thinking about your stories, and what stories do you want to create? Who do you want to hang out with? What stories in life do they bring to you? Because stories bring challenges, they bring life. Think about if you were the writer of your life, what journey would you take yourself on? Write that story. Write a couple of ideas of people you'd want to meet and why you want to meet them, and what stories you'd like to come out of it. How do you want to feel? Like when I travel, I land and then I look for my soul family. I don't have a hotel booked. I don't have an itinerary, because I want my soul family to take me on the journey. So I just set out and go. And if I don't find people there, I get a hotel and then I let my story unfold. So the city or country will take me on a journey instead of me taking it. And then I think about, what can I leave in this city and give to the city instead of just taking. And when you start doing that, you start meeting incredible people that really change your life in a beautiful way, in a way that you would never expect, because you're meeting all walks of life, not just people in your inner circle or the same people in your tribe, or people that you know, and family members and extended family and friends in the same job that you see every day. You're meeting people that have stories and experiences that you would never even imagine. And all of that helps you blaze your soul. I wrote a book that most of you probably know called SoulBlazing: How to Transform Your Imposters into Superpowers and Lead a More Purposeful, Authentic Life. And the journey of me writing this book was all about my travels and going on the hero's journey myself, going to Iraq and back where my family roots are, and understanding who I am. And along the way, I met all these incredible people, and it taught me the power of stories. And it taught me about how to create magical moments and create a life worth living. This woman in Iraq who was giving me my tea leaves said, life is all about what you make it. Every day you're creating who you are, and every decision you make, you're creating your story. And you're either creating a negative story or a positive story. You're creating a story that you're going to be ashamed of and feel shame and guilt, or you're going to be creating a story that you're going to want to relive and share with people all over the world. You're going to want to share it with your kids, your grandchildren, and anyone who will listen, because you know those stories transformed you and it'll transform them. So I think part of the purpose of life is to live it well so you could live it twice later on in life while you're reliving it. Because in your childhood, we create masks that we wear, which I call imposters, because we take on different personalities to protect ourselves. So when you're in your typical situation, you wake up on the same side of the bed and you brush your teeth, you drink a glass of water, whatever it is, you go work out or not, or you go to work, you're doing the same thing all the time. That's not where change comes from. You have to shake things up and put yourself in challenging situations and places that you're going to learn and grow. Otherwise, you stay the same. So that's how I created the imposters. I started thinking about all the people I was coaching and what stories shaped them and what was their key character that created these stories. And I came up with the joker, the fixer, the judge, the victim, the seductor, all these different imposters that really impede your growth unless you befriend them. And that's a story in itself. You get to know who these characters are inside you that you've created, and they're all telling stories to you inside your brain of this is who you are, this is how you think, this is what you should be doing. And it's not necessarily true, because we have our conscious mind and then we have our subconscious mind, which is our software. It is the part of us that, oh my God, I've got these mosquitoes here. It is the part of us that we create, and the hardware is who we are. So we get to change our unconscious mind by looking at these stories and saying, okay, what stories have I already discovered and have been living life as my own, my childhood? This happened to me, that happened to me, so I can't move forward in this direction or that direction. You have to think about those stories. Are they true? Did they really happen the way you think they did? I'm one of 5 girls, and we all have stories, and some of the stories that we all experience, we remember them differently. So it depends on the lens you are wearing as a kid to absorb what you are hearing, seeing, or what happened to you. So you have to shift those and go further in your life, and start doing forgiveness exercises. Forgive those who did something to you and forgive yourself so you have freedom. And then start stepping into a box of who you want to become and start creating stories that match it. So I do these wonderful Zoom classes, weekly Zoom classes, where we deep dive into this. Knowing your stories is knowing who you are. And once you know who you are and knowing how to create new stories and learning what your 3 aha stories, that is when magic happens. That's when transformation happens. That's when you feel comfortable in your skin and you could start having healthier relationships, healthier friendships, and not get into the drama of things, but really get into the juice of life and looking at each negative situation as a part of your human growth and just a problem to be solved, nothing more, nothing less. So that's when I created the soul, SOUL exercise, where you have to just stop and then Think about it. Observe what's happening. Why are you feeling this way? Why are you overreacting? Or why is this triggering you? Then understand the story behind it and why that happened and how you absorb that, and thinking about how you could heal that. And then once you heal it, you liberate yourself, because once a story is healed, and you could even change your stories, you could rewrite your stories and say, no, this is what happened. And your subconscious mind will start believing that. So you could rewrite your stories to a much better childhood or whatever negative experience happened to you. And you could take out the positive outcomes of whatever it is, because whatever happens to us, there is a positive outcome if you look for it. And that's all I want to share with you today, because I wanted you to think about the seeds you plant in your life. If you plant a tomato plant, you're going to get tomatoes. If you plant, oranges, you're going to get oranges. So what are you planting today? What seeds are you planting to grow into the person you want to become? So think about that and start planting seeds of stories that you're going to want to share and live twice through. So you could go to SoulBlazing.com for more information. And the first step would be to buy my book, SoulBlazing. You could get it on Amazon, or you could get information on my website. Then to take the webinar that I did that really talks more in depth about each imposter, and then sign up for a Zoom class, and you're good to go. And your life will be transformed after doing 6 months or so of work with me, of really learning about the imposters in your head and how to transform them into magical stories and have them work for you instead of against you. So thank you so much for joining me today. I am a soul blazer. I change lives, I touch people's souls, and I open them up. I teach people how to be present and to be in their authentic soul. Do you guys know what imposters are? These untrained imposters, they reside on the stage of our brain, and they're trying to control us. But usually what happens is they make things worse. But the good news is that we can control them. We could take over and we could teach them to work for us instead of against us.